So Café International has reached its 5th episode, and so far we have had the opportunity to talk with many young people, some coming from our own university, some being exchange students or students from that started their studies on our university and went on all over the Europe to continue their studies there. But today we're switching up the formula, and I welcome you, Branka, here in our humble little Café International podcast under the ME Study in English program. And welcome, Branka.
Thank you very much, Dusan. I have a pleasure to be here and to be the first, person from the middle generation to be here.
Well, we're just going to touch upon the age gap in the beginning and forget about that during our conversation. I keep my introductions brief for the very reason that whether it be this podcast or any other podcast that I'm handling, I allow my guests to have the initial spotlight, to present themselves in a manner in which they want to present themselves. So in as many words as possible, or as little as you want, you have the spotlight to present yourself, Branka.
Okay. So I'm here today, first of all, as project manager of Ulysseus European University at the University of Montenegro, where I have been working for about 10 months. Before that, I've been working for more or less 15 years in the field of science, higher education, innovation in Montenegro, mainly in the public sector. Then I started to work on this very interesting project that really opened some new avenues for the University of Montenegro and for its students and professors. And it's been quite an intensive 10 months, the first 10 months of this project, and I'm really seeing some really interesting developments that this project can bring, and I'm happy to be part of it.
So today's topic is mainly going to be, of course, Ulysseus and how it connects to University of Montenegro. But before we go into depth and into any details, let's give Ulysseus program as a whole an introduction. What does it present on an international scale, and how does it function?
Mm-hmm. So Ulysseus University is a part of one quite important initiative of the European Union, which is called the European Universities, where the European Union wants to make universities around Europe as connected as possible. And up to now, around 50 alliances of different universities have been created around Europe, which actually aim in a way to make universities function as if there were no borders between them, with the kind of long-term goal that these universities become like a entity, like institution, which is called a European university. So that Ulysseus is one university of among these 50 around Europe, and the University of Montenegro is one among very rare Western Balkans universities which takes part in these alliances.
So from what I can tell, is it some sort of membership program, or how does joining the Ulysseus network function? Is it like a checklist of tasks and achievement university has to have prior to becoming a member, or is it something entirely different?
It is an issue of agreement between these universities to work together, so that these universities sign agreements of cooperation among themselves. And our university became part of this agreement practically upon invitation from this alliance, which had existed in the previous 4 years. It had its so-called first stage in the previous 4 years, and then the European Union decided that also the Western Balkan countries can join the European University Alliances, so that this alliance invited our university to become part of it. And it's not something that happens by itself or out of nothing, but I would say that it is a result of really good international cooperation activities at the University of Montenegro in the previous period. Very intensive activities, very intensive collaboration, many agreements signed with different universities around Europe. I believe that our university has around 170 signed agreements with different universities around Europe and beyond. And only currently we have more than 40 universities with which our university has open calls for student mobility. So there has been a really good and intensive international cooperation of our university. And Ulysseus' invitation, I believe, came as a result of this quite good networking and quite good previous work on the international cooperation.
One word that has been brought up multiple times while I was exploring the topic initially, and you mentioned it quite interestingly enough, this word a few times, mobility.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that this is the main point of existence of Ulysseus program. As students can go from one university of the network to another without all the administrative issues and hiccups that can happen usually during the student exchange. But I want to touch upon what are exact goals of the whole Ulysseus program other than, let's say, that mobility.
Okay, so on the part of education, the Alliance works on the creation of joint programs so that the Alliance will have until the end of this second stage, until the end of 2027, around 16 created joint double or joint degrees, be it bachelor degrees, master degrees or doctoral degrees, that are being created among the partner universities. So that our university will also have a few joint programs created in this period. One of them will definitely be in the field of cybersecurity, because one of the topics for our university within the Alliance is cybersecurity. And there are other topics, like currently there is one program in the field of agriculture that is being created as a joint degree. We have invitations currently for some other programs which are being considered, which are under consideration. So that this is a really significant impact and novelty for our university that Ulysseus will bring. Apart from it, there are a number of other initiatives, like joint research projects, joint teaching classrooms among universities. Then there is the establishment of Innovation Hub for Cybersecurity within Ulysseus here in Montenegro. Then there are a number of blended mobilities, intensive courses, language learning courses within Ulysseus. So there are different aspects, but let's say education, research, innovation are the areas which are covered by the Alliance. And all of this is enabled by mobility, by exchanges, by different modes of people getting together, be it teachers, researchers, students.
So from what I understood, it is the idea behind it is through mobility, where we are exchanging different types of teachings, different types of learning based on, I'm from Montenegro. If I were to use the network of Ulysseus and go in, let's say, in Spain, for example, those cultures will clash in a productive manner, where information will be more accessible, where information will be fast-paced, fast-flowing between the students, and those innovations will be born. That's what I got from there. And honestly, it is exciting to see a network like this exist on a European level. What I also wanted to touch upon is something that I've noticed. Green Deal mobility or something along those lines, which I couldn't quite find what exactly it represents. So could you elaborate?
Yeah, well, actually it is called, I think, green mobility. It is a way how to promote some sustainable modes of transportation, first of all, and not only transportation but also living during these exchanges, so that we mutually widen this culture of caring about nature and producing less waste and making as less carbon emissions as possible. So that what is monitored also during mobility and when we arrange mobility for students, we try to promote this kind of sustainable mobility options, which are not, unfortunately, for our country so accessible as nowadays between European countries, which have now many options like trains and so on for traveling rather than plane, let's say. But also for Podgorica or for Montenegro, when students come, we gave them some kind of guide how they can maybe use some public transportation or I don't know, rent a bike, not a bike currently, but we have how you call those little electric scooters, yeah. So this kind of, I mean, in our case, we don't have so many options like, for example, some other campuses like University of Münster, for example, in Germany, which is also a member of the Alliance. People were really amazed when they went there how green the campus is and what are all the options about sustainable mobility of students, of teachers, how many bikes there are all around the place, and all these different initiatives, how students can contribute to greening the city and so on. So we are learning about it more or less.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Like, I think for us it is more important to have an example already shown to us that we can sort of copy and perfect it and adapt it to our local local culture, even the culture and the culture. So from agriculture to cybersecurity, it seems like everything is covered and the opportunities are there. But also, what I've read is talent magnet. It was interesting to. I guess I'll allow you to explain to our listeners and viewers what is talent magnet.
Okay, so. We are actually facing, we in Montenegro, but also other countries of Europe have, some of the countries of Europe have this issue of brain drain and of people leaving the country for studying abroad, or when they complete their studies to go overseas, maybe to the US for work and so on. So that all of Europe and through European policies we see different attempts how to retain talents here and maybe even attract talents from other countries to Europe, to our universities. So that with Ulysseus we are, for example, trying at our university to tell students that now there are much better options for them for mobility. But also for the higher quality of studies, because if we provide tomorrow some joint study programs, this is a really increased quality of education, of higher education, than when one institution, which is not very old and very developed like ours, actually it is quite good, but it is not as good maybe as some more developed European university. But through these joint forces, our quality of education and quality of programs is getting better. So also mobility opportunities are increased. We now have in this network 7 universities apart from our, so that 7 more mobility opportunities are there. And we also with the different collaborations from teachers with these online classrooms and maybe opportunities for innovation, joint innovation activities and so on, these university settings become more attractive for students to stay here or to come here to study. And so this is marked as a talent attraction. So we are trying to approach young high school students and to tell them that it is maybe more attractive now to study here than it was a few years ago. And we also have special activities to attract students and young researchers from countries outside of Europe. We will have some projects like, I don't know if you heard about Marie Curie doctoral networks and these kind of interesting research projects where students from outside of Europe can come and can do their research in this network of universities. So this is kind of different ways how to really gain young people at our universities and not lose them.
So exchanging information becomes a crucial part of growth for all of the members of the network. Also, you mentioned high school students. How much focus is actually and attention is brought to the during like the everyday work in Ulysseus in University of Montenegro? Are students like the vocal are students mostly in focus, or are we trying to sort of shift our attention towards the upcoming generation of high schoolers?
Well, mostly our attention is on students and on teachers of the university, but we have some activities also where we include high school students. Like we have the so-called high school scientific journal, where we will have talented high schoolers join common projects, research projects, and prepare joint publications with their peers from from other countries of the Alliance. But also, for example, recently we had an interesting activity where a group of high school students from the School of Economics, High School of Economics here in Podgorica, they went for their excursion trip, the graduation excursion. And we managed to organize for them a visit to the University Côte d'Azur in France, so that they did not visit only Nice as a nice tourist and sightseeing place, but they also went to the university and to visit this university and to find out about this cooperation between our two universities. So we were very proud about this nice little activity, but which introduced something new to our high school students.
My reason for asking the exact question of how much focus there is, how much focus is gifted towards students or towards the high schoolers is, are we considering the students that are currently studying on our university as, it's something relatively new, how much they will actually pay attention? Is it like, is the PR behind it in University of Montenegro focused more on the upcoming generations, which was my reason for asking, but I guess it's still a sort of a long-term plan whether how much attention will be focused on the high schoolers. But what you also mentioned is teachers. How do teachers and professors in our university benefit from all the Ulysseus network?
The teachers will also have their program of mobility, so that they can go to other universities and see how they work, how they operate, what are their courses and so on. Apart from that, they have, and there was already one call and there will be more calls on this, where teachers can collaborate, can get together to create I call it virtual classrooms. It has a little more complicated name, like collaborative online intensive learning. Let's call them virtual classrooms, where two teachers who teach same or similar subjects, they organize one part of their teaching together, online, virtually, so that they teach something to our students and their students together, and our teachers teach similarly. So that in these exchanges our teachers can see what methods, pedagogical methods are being used, what are maybe some current topics which are being taught, and so on. So we think that with this opening to this international collaboration, our teachers are also maybe improving the way they teach and the content of their teaching.
It is really interesting to hear that there exists a network that allows professors and teachers to collaborate and exchange information. Like they're experts, the biggest experts we have in those fields, and they still can collab. There is a network that exists to them to improve everything that there is. So from a student standpoint right now, from a high schooler standpoint, let's say, I'm going towards the university, and I'm seeing that even my teachers are working hard towards professors. let's word it properly. Like even my professors are working hard towards improving their teaching styles, allowing me the opportunity to have the most relevant information available when I arrive to the. So it's kind of paradoxical if you think we are promoting exchange, mobility of students to decrease the brain drain. And which is something I've stumbled upon a few discussions online about. How does it work, essentially? How is it possible that something that promotes students to get away from the country actually promotes not allowing brain drain to happen?
Yeah, that is interesting point. You can never say what will make a student stay or leave. Yeah, I mean, there are so many different factors and it's quite complicated. But I guess that with this kind of opportunities for so-called circulation, okay, so I'm here and then I go a little, I come back, and then I have another opportunity to go, and so on. Then you start living and studying better, yeah, here at home. So you don't maybe get so frustrated about some things because you change a little bit, you introduce something new in your life, and so on. So our lives become richer, yeah.
I think there also comes a time where everyone is like, okay, I see these things that are happening on University A. I want them to happen on my university. And I think it's mostly that. But I just wanted to see.
That would be really nice.
Yeah,
that would be really nice, and I really hope that that starts to happen as well. I mean, there are of course always and already before a lot of international activities, but we need really a lot of teachers, professors to participate in them, and also a lot of students to participate in them. Sometimes we still have unused opportunities. And it's also about maybe PR, what you were mentioning, marketing, and making the information accessible to everyone so that they know when to react, when to look, where to look for, and so on. But it is also about being proactive on the side of students themselves, professors themselves, because the information are there. Maybe they are not so to say, we don't have some campaigns and like on social media about this, but there are pages where you can find all this information, and where you need to dedicate some time to really finding what is best for you, what suits you, where you would like to go, which university maybe is the best in your field of studying or teaching, and so on. So that I mean, it requires work from the side of us, administration, but also some proactive work on individuals.
I guess it comes naturally. It's sort of your activity on the PR department is going to give birth to proactivity on the student amongst the students. it's something that comes natural, and of course these talks about PR come much in a much longer period of time. How long does the program Ulysseus exist in Montenegro?
Since November last year.
Yes, we're talking about literal 10 months, so it's not enough time to establish everything to be as efficient as possible, of course. But what I also wanted to touch upon is some challenges that you have faced so far. Something unique, something that you can point out to. What are the plans for the future for this program and its existence in University of Montenegro?
Well, for now, as regards the challenges, since we are at these initial stages of the project, we have not encountered too many. But what we anticipate is related to some activities exactly on this creation of double and joint degrees. And on adaptation of our programs so that we could really come to the common ground with some foreign partners about the right content of these degrees and our capacities to deliver this type of teaching and learning outcomes. So that in this kind of negotiations we need to change the business as usual and status quo. Apart from that, there are also some administrative hurdles on the side of accreditation procedures and so on, which are not as efficient as we would like them to be. In European universities, some of them, they have this so-called European accreditation, so that they streamline a very quick procedures for these kind of European degrees. We still do not have this opportunity here in Montenegro, but we are in discussion with the so-called administrative organizations, institutions, so that we try to improve that. Also, I did not mention that before, but one thing which is also included in Ulysseus is the creation of this kind of lifelong learning opportunities, which provide not only learning opportunities, but also certificates on these achieved results in the form of credits for students or some kind of really formally recognized achievements for professionals who attend these courses. This part of lifelong learning at the university is really in the initial stages of development, and we are in parallel with planning something in Ulysseus. We are working on the system changes so to enable these things to happen smoothly.
Well, I guess most of the things mentioned are sort of expected growing pains. Mostly rooted in the way that the university functions, how differently it functions essentially compared to the other universities that are both part of the network and are yet to become a part of Ulysseus network. What is interesting to me is a lot of student organizations that both here and in Europe that have been formed in the last decade or so have focused on exactly this problem, the student exchange. They wanted to see the opportunities, to have the opportunity to travel, to explore different cultures. I guess that was the initial motivation for the students. And now we see even the European Union creating the whole program to promote this behavior, because they see that this is the future, essentially. The exchange of information that flows like that, naturally like that. There'll be a lot more less gatekeeping amongst the future experts in different kinds of fields. So before we wrap everything up, I wanted to touch upon some long-term plans from what I've read online. It's the initial plan is the set of activities that exists is till 2030.
2027.
2027. Okay. So what are those? Just briefly touch upon some long-term plans Ulysseus network as a whole has, and how it is reflected on University of Montenegro.
These plans for for European University Alliances in general are on the side of European Union long-term plans. They want this initiative to live and to continue to live within the space of European higher education, so that we are sure that there will be support from the European Union funding for this type of projects, alliances. The thing is that these alliances are subject to evaluation of their results, of their impact every 4 years. So that we need to prove through our results that that we are accountable and that there is a purpose for supporting us in further periods. So we will have to prove that. For this period until 2027, our big goal is to create this innovation hub in cybersecurity. This will be one place for creation of experts and researchers and developing innovations in the field of cybersecurity, and it will be located at the Science and Technology Park of Montenegro. Since this field is not very well developed at our university, we are just starting with the master program next year. But we have initiated quite a lot of activities for students, some trainings, some student competitions and so on, so that we create some pool of young people who would like to pursue this career in the future. We will have other activities within the whole alliance that strengthen this part of the project. So, apart from that, we will have, as I mentioned, some joint or double degrees that once they are established, we hope they keep on, they continue, so that it becomes something self-sustainable in the future. We will have research projects, we will have some innovation projects, some activities for startups, but also some really long-term impact on our system development.
What I wanted to, well, I briefly interrupted you, was to ask is exactly those questions about what all sorts of opportunities students will have when this program is established. But the plan is already set in motion and many great things are coming, essentially. So many great opportunities for both students and our professors. It is, as from an outsider perspective, I can definitely say it's going to be exciting to watch over how Ulysseus is being established as a routine, quote unquote, on University of Montenegro. So I guess this sort of wraps up the story perfectly. Like in the last few podcasts with my fellow guest students, they all touched upon the topics of brain drain and how through the organization and student organizations and efforts, they're trying to, decrease decrease the amount of brain drain that's happening in our culture amongst our students. Yeah, it is definitely exciting to see that even our own University of Montenegro is now a part of the network that is dealing with this exact same problem on much larger scale. So I guess it'll sort of create this a slingshot effect, if you will, of students going to treating the exchange as something other than the brain drain. So I thank you for accepting our invitation on behalf of ME Study in English program. I'm so glad that we touched upon some of the topics that we covered today. And if there's anything you'd like to add for the ending of this podcast, feel free to.
Thank you very much, Dusan. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I'm here for any further questions that students may have, not only me, but the whole Ulysseus team at the Rectorate of the University of Montenegro. So please write to us and get informed about what Ulysseus offers, and only together we can make it a successful story.
Once again, thank you, Branka, for coming to our podcast. I'm sure that our viewers and our listeners have enough of information to find out about the Ulysseus program and how it's implemented in University of Montenegro.
Thank you. you.